You started this now global community of young people, Gen Z VCs, first through a tweet, then through Slack. Talk to us about the vision and how this came together.
Sure, yeah. So I joined the Lerer Hippeau team a year ago. I was their youngest investor hired on their team. And what I found very quickly was I really wanted to meet other peers in this space. I wanted to meet more founders. And during the pandemic, it was a little bit harder to do so just because people weren't doing all the things that they typically do in cities. And so, yeah, I turned to, like many Gen Zers, I turned online, I turned to community, and I decided to create my own. And so, yeah, I mean, the community has grown from a group of 30 friends back in November 2020 to now over 10,000 people all over the world. It's a movement. We have tons of initiatives, and now the summit is coming tomorrow, which we're incredibly excited for. You mentioned before, it's 70 people from 71 countries all over the world, 2,300 plus attendees, and really the first of its kind. It's a summit built by Gen Z for Gen Z. So yeah, we're really excited to bring it to life, and community, grassroots, it's all kind of at the center.
You're just 24 years old, and you're working with partners who've been at this investing thing for a long time. What do you think you know that they don't?
I wouldn't even say it's what you know, but I think it's a different perspective, right? When you're investing in the next generation of companies being built by Gen Z, I am that customer. When you think about Gen Z, right, it's $143 billion in spending power. We interact with technology in a different way. We're spending in different ways. I think there's just different type of consumer habits, as you've seen with every generation. And Gen Z just thinks about things differently. There's this sense of authenticity, really putting your values behind your purchasing dollars in a whole new way. And so I think it's more just providing a different perspective because you are the consumer, because you are Gen Z. So I think it's, I'm really grateful to be on the team at Lerer Hippeau and meeting Gen Z founders that are around my same age every day, and being able to provide a different perspective again when I'm adding value to founders, when we're working with them, and beyond.
You're talking about thousands of Gen Z investors here. What trends are you seeing in terms of where they want to put their money to work and what their priorities are?
Yeah, so I think it's funny, the Gen Z VCs article, which is when I initially coined the term, people didn't even know Gen Zers were old enough to be doing investing. In this article, the top trend that, basically around 100 Gen Zers that I had surveyed was the creator economy. And it's huge, right? There's 50 million creators all over the world, and there are going to be more creators that come to market. I think there's this great stat, it's a third of children in America want to become YouTubers one day. The people that Gen Z look up to, they're influencers, they're creators like Tinks, Charlie D'Amelio, and we're interacting again with creators in a whole new different way than I think generations before, because we're the first digitally native generation. And so on top of that, as the market expands, there's going to be more tools and services that serve those creators. And I think Gen Z is, again, really uniquely positioned to spot those trends early and also add value to those founders that are building those businesses. So the creator economy is certainly one. I think, when you think about sustainability and improving the planet around us, that's also something that's really important. And then things like products and services for the next generation of consumers, the next generation of workers. There's just a lot of really unique, I think, trends that Gen Z is really at the front and center of that we're tracking. Yeah.
Now, we did a whole series on TikTok earlier this year, spoke to some TikTok stars like Josh Richards, who's now trying to use his platform to invest himself, along with another venture capital firm, Animal Capital. What do you see as the role of influencers, and you mentioned creators, in this movement, given that so many of these young people have amassed these giant followings that they can market to, essentially?
Yeah, so I think when you think about creators and influencers, you're bringing your platform to life in a really different way. And I think specifically for consumer companies, it's particularly interesting. Like when you have 1 million followers on Twitter or millions of followers on TikTok, that's where your users are. And so I think you can become a really unique organic acquisition engine for specifically companies that are, again, trying to target your exact users. And even Gen Z VCs plays a role in that too. It's a different type of creator, of course, but the future of VC, the future of technology, it's really community-led. And so communities play a role, influencers and creators play a role. And it's I think you're really helping founders that are trying to reach that demographic in a new way that's very authentic to that user. And that's what's the most important for Gen Z. It's reaching that user in a way that it doesn't feel pushy. It feels really organic and authentic, and that's what resonates. It resonates with me, it resonates with my friends, and influencers, creators play a big role in that.
So this summit that you're holding this week, what exactly will folks learn here? Talk to us about the panelists, the kind of discussions you're planning to host.
Sure, yeah. So the Gen Z VCs community and this summit, it's a composition of a bunch of different types of groups. We have full-time people working in venture capital. We have founders that are Gen Z or founders that are not Gen Z building for Gen Z, students that want to enter this space. So it's a bunch of different types of people. And the content itself is really it's geared towards this young generation of leaders. For founders, many of them are first-time founders, right? They're looking for a co-founder. They're thinking about, how do I hire people that are 2 times my age and build an executive team? For investors, what does the future look like? And then for students, how do I break into this industry? How do we create ways to make VC and tech more accessible to everyone? And so the content is really geared specifically and tailored for those folks in different ways. And also, again, it was developed with the community, which is why it's so special. It's authentic, it's organic, and it's coming from the exact pain points that I hear every day as an investor at Lerer Hippeau, talking to Gen Z founders, and also in the conversations with my friends that are Gen Z investors at other funds. There's just no content that exists that is tailored for these groups, and so we're creating it.
For folks who are watching this who may not be part of the summit tomorrow, who maybe don't have that much money yet, but want to get into something, they're thinking, should I buy GameStop or do something else? What is your advice?
I think it's easier than ever to start investing your money. Crowdfunding platforms like Republic, for example, you can start angel investing earlier. You can start learning. I think that's the key, right? Like, you need to know that this stuff exists to start, and knowledge is the first point. So join the summit, tune in, and learn about what it means to be an investor, what it means to be a founder, and that's the best way to get started. And then you can start investing in your own way, whether it's the public markets or privately. I think the most important thing is learning and growing and building that skill set.